Hello everybody and a warm welcome to the first part of our first live webinar. My dear colleague Daniel here and I would like to present you our latest roaster control generation called Pilot 2020, probably in a slightly more deeper way. And the focus for today's part is how to handle the roasting process in our solution. And by the way, of course, you will have the possibility to send us questions during the running live chat or afterwards, and all participants are anonymized, and we will record this session here. So Daniel, our software talent and co-founder of our fantastic solution here, will now explain you all the benefits, functions, and features in detail. Please feel free to start.
Thank you for the very nice introduction, Sebastian.
You're welcome.
I'm going to share our screen now. 1 second. You should be able to see my screen now. And I'm live on our Pilot 2020 login screen. Before we start, I would like to say or to highlight two important things. We designed Pilot 2020 with UI and UX researchers, which even visited some roasteries to check how operators work, which features are important, and which information should be displayed on what place. And we all considered that during the development and got a very nice solution. And second, we created Pilot 2020 with the latest technologies, which means we are compatible with the latest operating systems and IT deployment trends like thin clients or virtualization. And now I am going to log in.
Yep.
And on the login page, I have the possibility to select my primary machine. This machine is the one which I would like to operate primarily on. That does not mean that I cannot control the others. I can control the others, but this one is where the focus is. Now I log in, and you see the Pilot 2020 application. The application is divided into 3 areas, and you basically see on the top your machines. For example, I selected the PX120 as my primary machine, and the other machines are on the secondary tab. I always have the possibility to switch here to the other machines to check the status. For example, I can switch to a grinder and see that the grinder is operating, no alarms are present, and I can switch back. I can even switch to another roaster, maybe see that there's an alarm present that I might have to solve. But in this case, we switch back to the PX120 and we'll continue operating there. So the second area on the screen is the main working area, where in this case you see the operator page. And the third area is navigation area, where you can switch between the different pages of the control solution. You can switch between the operator area, the machine area, the recipes area, and the messages and alarms area. On each area, you have different buttons on the bottom right corner. You can, these buttons are always displayed depending on the page you're currently on. For example, if you're on the operator page, you will see different buttons than when you are on the recipes page. They are context sensitive. So on the operator page, you have the main working area divided into a few areas here. On the left area, you can see the different stations of the roaster. For example, this roaster has a feeding hopper, the classical roasting bin, a cooler, and a roast coffee bin. And you can see in which station there is currently product. You can see currently there is in the feeding hopper and in the roasting bin product, and the cooler and the roast coffee bin is empty. In the middle, you see the current roasting curve. which displays the roasting progress of the current batch.
Yep.
On the context-sensitive buttons, there's an option to switch that to the continuous curve, so you can see the roasting curves for different batches on, I think, the last 30 minutes. But you can always switch back to the batch chart. Then you have the possibility to modify important roasting parameters for the current batch here. For example, you can change the roast end temperature or the quenching water, or the drying time, or the discharging time. Furthermore, you have the possibility to adjust little changes in roast end temperature using this button here. So this will increase the temperature on 0.1 degrees Celsius.
So I guess all light blue mentioned boxes. There you can enter,
Yes.
adjust then the values, I guess, no?
Yes, this is
Okay.
a UI UX principle.
Yeah.
Every value which you are able to change is highlighted in blue.
Yeah.
So values which are from the process or from sensors and so on are black. You cannot change the current product temperature, but you can change the roast end temperature. And this is a design principle throughout the software. Every set point is colored in blue if you're able to change it. If you don't have a permission to change it, then it's colored in gray, as you can see with the current roasting time here. So you can switch to the second tab here, curve, where you see the current roasting curve in a way bigger format, and a few additional curves like the roast supply air temperature, the position of the bypass flap, and some important recipe parameters regarding the reflex roasting, the so-called curve following. So you can say, okay, I don't want to see the current product temperature here, and unselect it, then it will disappear. Or you can say, okay, supply air temperature shouldn't be displayed, the bypass flap. So you can configure this chart a little bit. Furthermore, you have the possibility to say, okay, the current roasting curve is very good. I would like to use that as a set point curve for the next recipe if you have the reflex roasting turned on, as it's currently here. And then you can, for that, you can press record curve, and this curve will be used for the next batch as a set point curve if the recipe doesn't change.
Okay, clear. Yeah.
So furthermore, you have the possibility to adjust the display a little bit here. You maybe notice that the curve is colored in yellow and in red here. This depends on quality parameters configured in the recipe. Now we have to wait till the next batch appears here.
Yep.
Or we can go to the batch protocol where we can always check which was the roasting curve.
Good idea. Yep.
So I will select another batch. This batch is very nice for demonstration. I will explain the batch protocol later in detail. So you have the curve colored yellow here. And yellow means it's a slight deviation from the quality parameter configured in the recipe. And red means it's out of the specification like configured in the recipe.
Okay. Daniel,
yes.
I see there a very interesting button below. It's called transfer curves.
Yes.
What does it mean?
So this curve wouldn't be a good example because this curve isn't very good.
Okay.
But let's imagine you have maybe this one here, and you say, okay, I really like that curve, and this should be the set point curve for my recipe. You can click transfer curves and select a recipe where you would like to transfer the curve into.
Okay.
And if you turn on the reflex roasting, then this curve will be used as a new set point curve for the roasting.
Cool.
So you can transfer your golden curve to the recipe.
Okay.
So later we will discuss how you can configure these control deviation parameters where the curve colors yellow or red. So you can maybe recognize quality deviations very fast. So if you go back to the curve here, you maybe notice the buttons below where you're able to set the first crack, second crack, and the curve marker. So if you click on that button here, it will draw a little icon on the curve where it's basically highlighted that you heard the first crack on that roasting time. And so you can annotate the curve with a little more information. Or for example, if you want to highlight a special thing during the roast or on the curve, you can click Set Curve Marker. It will automatically generate this curve marker, and you have the possibility to click on it and to enter a comment. This and that. I will save that, and these curve markers are later transferred in the batch protocol, so you can always review them and maybe act on it.
So it's a great quality documentation then
yes,
also, no?
It's part of the quality documentation.
Yeah, okay.
So furthermore, you have the possibility to maybe hide the curve coloring here if you don't like it, or to hide the curve marker if you maybe want to check the curve a little bit below it.
Okay. Shall we also take a short look if there are some questions from the chat maybe?
We can do that. 1 second. We got a few questions actually. I will check 1 second. Can you? Okay. One technical problem is this is solved now.
Oh, great.
And another one. Yeah. How can I see the development time? Okay, this one is a good question.
Okay.
So the development time, you can see it if you go to the batch protocol. So there, of course, there are multiple ways to do things in our software, but I would recommend the following way. You go to the batch protocol here, and if you have a first crack marker set, you can click on that first crack marker. You can maybe edit it during the roast or some other options. You can click on it and you will see development time here. So the development time is calculated from the roast end time to the time where the first, or other way around, from the time from the first crack to the roast end time. Cool. So, and of course, in the batch protocol, you can later change the description. We already discussed the curve here.
Yep.
So this curve only displays the current batch, but we maybe want to analyze further things. For example, we maybe want to analyze supply airflow, process water quantity, burner states, motor states, set points of different things. So for classical peaks 120, we have over 120 values recorded each second.
Wow.
And you have the possibility to analyze everything here. So you maybe see
that means so we are not. You can now analyze this in the deep all trending. So it's not necessary to use, for example, a third-party tool like Excel.
No.
So you can do it here. Directly.
Yes, it's not necessary to use Excel.
Yeah.
But you always can. So you maybe noticed here's an export button.
Okay. Yeah.
You can export your current view here into Excel. If I click on it, it will see, okay, I've selected this time frame, and I can click on export. It will take a few seconds, and then it has all the values exported.
Okay.
So you see, it asks me where to save it. I will just save it to the desktop.
Yeah.
And it's saved. So, but you maybe notice there are many curves on here.
Absolutely, a lot. Yeah.
This is maybe too much to analyze. So we provide a few default groups.
Ooh.
you see the default groups depend on the machine you have. For example, PX120 have other groups pre-configured than maybe a Jupiter with a preheater.
Different kind of roaster type.
Different kind of roasters, right?
Okay.
And you recognize the predefined groups that they are with a locked symbol. Those groups cannot be modified or deleted. So they are part. If, for example, Probot service assists you, they always have these groups pre-configured, which makes the work faster.
Okay, clear. Yeah.
But you have always a possibility, if you don't like the pre-configured groups, to add further groups. You can click here on Create and say, okay, I want to have the fresh air flap and the roaster fresh air flap, and will call this group webinar.
Yeah, good name.
And then you have both flaps configured here, and can analyze this group. So I will switch back to the roasting group because I like that very much.
So this group explains that all the relevant parameters value which are for the roasting process for roast are already pre-filtered and grouped in. Okay. Okay.
So I just added the product temperature.
Yeah.
And now I have the possibility to change the time frame here. So currently it's displaying the last 120 minutes, which is maybe too much. Maybe I want only to see the last 30 minutes. I can click on it and it will display the last 30 minutes. Okay. Now you see the trending is currently moving because each second there's a new value. Maybe I don't want that, then I have the possibility to click on the pause button here, and the chart will stop moving, and I can analyze it without a moving chart. So, for example, I can click on this chart, and I see all curves displayed on that special point in time, for example, 12:54, and have all the curves with their associated values. For example, I see here the under pressure for the roaster was -5 decapascal. And if I have my mouse over that value, then I don't only see the tagging, which is PC301027.
These are PCE PID tags? Or?
Yes,
okay.
These are PID tags.
Yeah.
But maybe I don't know it from head, which is the corresponding value.
Yeah.
Then I can go with the mouse over here, and it will tell me, okay, this one is the roaster pressure.
So spoken
roaster
name.
under pressure.
Spoken name then to understand what it is.
You
okay.
have always the possibility to check the names here. Or you can click here on description, and then it will show you the long text with the description, but it depends which one you like more.
I guess this supports you a lot, your customers.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I can take this slider here and move it across the screen, and it will show me the different values for each point in time. And then I can even click on the chart here to add a second slider to see differences between the curves.
So the delta.
The delta between those sliders, yes. For example, between those two sliders, there are around 8 minutes difference. And okay, in this case, the product temperature has a difference of 22.6 degrees in Celsius.
Wow.
So, one more cool feature.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe you
one more?
One more, yes.
Good.
Maybe you narrowed down your thing you would like to analyze in this special area. And now you want to zoom in. Yeah. And there's just one button for that. You can click on here, set time frame from sliders, and it will just show you the values which were between those two sliders.
The deltas, the values.
Yeah,
okay. Difference.
Yes.
Wow.
And then you can maybe click on here again, analyze your point of interest, and increase or zoom in even more.
Cool.
So, but maybe
I hope you like it also.
but maybe your time frame is a little bit further away, for example, last week. Then you can click on here, click on define. For example, if I'm currently in the 30 minutes mode, I can click here on define and I get a date time picker, which allows me to select any point in time to analyze the curves here. The maximum time span which you can collect is around 1 week. It will display it all in the chart, but of course you can hardly recognize anything then. So you should pick maybe 1 or 2 days and then zoom in.
Okay.
So let's continue with the batch protocol. You have each batch protocol of the current day by default listed on the left side here. So today we roasted 93 batches on our simulation system.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
And but we can change the time frame here to, for example, this week. And this week we roasted around 350 batches on the simulation system. So
when I see all these batches,
yes,
I think it's definitely also a wish from the past from customers. And I heard something. Is it now possible to compare all the running batches?
Yes, you can compare your batches. For example, I think this one is very interesting because we roasted the same recipe 3 times. For example, 350 times, sorry. And I would like to compare the last 3 times. I can select them with this button here. If I have something selected, I can unselect it here, but I will select those 3. And you see this button here becomes available. And this button will compare the curves of the selected batch protocols. Like in the history, you have the possibility to click on here and analyze each point in time for each second. So you can always say, okay, 180 seconds roast time, it had like 429 degrees Celsius supply air temperature. But more interesting is the difference between the batches here. The curves you see here, the black curve is the rate of rise. The green curve is the supply air temperature, and the blue curve are the current product temperature.
You said rate of rise. I guess there was also a question regarding rate of rise.
Yes.
What is it?
The rate of rise is the temperature change in the last 10 seconds.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So you see, we draw each curve here on the compare chart. For example, the product temperature here. It will draw you the curve with the highest point and the curve with the lowest points. And everything in between is colored with an area here. So you can always say, okay, my 3 batches were between this area here. I can click on another batch. For example, I've currently clicked on the row as the first batch here. If I select this batch or this batch, I see the roasting curve of the selected batch highlighted. I will switch again so you can see the differences in the chart. And I can click on it and I can see, okay, batch 349 has on 65 seconds a difference in the product temperature of 12.6 degrees Celsius. And the same goes for the supply air temperature and the bypass flap. So furthermore, we see a second tab here. This is laboratory. In each batch protocol, you have the possibility to enter down below here laboratory values.
Oh, yeah.
For example, the moisture, the color, and the density.
So also quality points.
Yes,
okay.
Quality again.
Yeah, it's important, no?
We pay very much attention to quality parameters.
Yeah.
And yes, you can select it and compare, for example, the color. This is a red line, the density and the moisture. You can uncheck those, so we can only see the color. So you can check that the color is always the same in this case. Very good roasts.
Constant, yes, of course. Okay.
So this is a possibility to compare the batch protocols. Now we go to the general areas of the batch protocol. Each batch protocol has 4 different tabs here. We have the general parameters, which are metadata for the batch. For example, which recipe version, which feeding time, the recipe name, and so on.
So metadata, you mean these are values which describes exactly the batch. Okay. Yeah.
More interestingly, for the operator, we have the batch provided in different areas, so you can always check the parameters for the area you're interested in. For example, we have it separated in the feeding hopper area, the roasting area, so I can always check, okay, if I'm looking for the roast time, it's probably in the roasting area, not on some random place. And the cooler area, the cooler outlet, and consumption counters, where we analyze how much gas, for example, is used on the main burner for different types, maybe during heating up, standby, if standby was turned on, roasting, and in total. And the same goes for afterburner if it's available, power consumption, and air consumption. If you're not interested in those values, for example, you can click on here, fold in, and it will hide those values. You can always fold them off again. And it will remember your selection. So if you switch to batches, it will always be hidden and you can pay attention to those parameters you're interested in. Furthermore, you can see here the reductions of the recipe. I'll explain the recipe later. And for each reduction step, the recorded values. For example, the reduction step 3 were at 180 degrees Celsius was reached at 220 seconds roast time. And the same goes for the motors and the flaps and the supply air. As already mentioned, we have the curves here. Those are recorded for each batch protocol. And you have the possibility to hide the curves here again if you're not interested in those. And you have the possibility to enter a comment to a batch.
Important.
And you may be noticing if I'm changing a few things which are not saved yet, they get a yellow border here, which basically tells me, hey, remember to save it. But if I forget it and I just click on here, it will say, hey, you maybe forgot something. And then I can always say, okay, save this for me.
State-of-the-art usability.
Yes.
Great.
So I will check if you have a few more questions.
Very good idea, yes.
1 second. So we've got a few questions. Oh, those are much. So the first question is, can you roast without adding water? So yes, we can do that. If you're on the operator page, you can click on here and enter a 0 here, and then it will not add water during the quenching. But it's important to remember, if you don't give any water on the coffee beans, then you should reduce the drying time to 0. Otherwise, it will continue to roast for the 5 seconds.
And you roast there. Yeah.
So maybe if you can do it if you like it that way.
Sure.
You're free to do that. But I think normally the question implies that you want to discharge immediately if the quenching should start or if the roast is finished. So let me check the other questions.
Check the chat.
Check the chat. Difficult to say. So how does the easy reflex work? And what changed with the factor supply? Okay. The second question is, easy reflex is probably reflex automatic.
Yes,
So,
another name. Yes.
Another name for
Yeah.
that. So you can configure the factor supply air temperature here. And it basically means how aggressive the burner should behave trying to reach the desired supply air temperature in order to reach the product temperature. So for example, if you are below your set point curve, then we have to give more power on the burner, of course. You can do it either way. So you can say, okay, I will exaggerate a little bit. You can put the burner to 100% and it will reach the supply air temperature very fast and the corresponding product temperature. Or I can maybe add a few percent and it will reach the supply air temperature slower. Both have advantages and disadvantages. If I have a high factor here, it will probably consume more energy because you have to go higher very fast on the burner, and it will probably overshoot the product temperature a little bit because if it's reached the temperature, it will regulate back again. If I do it slower, it will take a little bit more time to reach the temperature. So, and this is a combination between the factor supply air temperature and the bypass flap. So it's a little bit depending on how you would like to your product curve to behave. And the best thing is actually to get a proper service technician who has seen many roasters and many profiles and so on. They have a very good feeling how to configure those parameters.
To tune it a little bit.
Tune it a little bit, okay. Yes. And it's a little bit experimental.
I hope this answers your question.
Yes, it's a difficult and complex question, to be honest. And so this one is possible to overlap profiles. Yeah, we already showed that. Then a question on the rate of rise.
Yes, this we already answered, yeah.
Can this software record energy consumption? Yes, the energy consumption I just showed in the batch protocols. It will have it available in different areas, like I showed it here for each batch protocol. But this is not part of the webinar now. But if you go to the machine screen, you can click here on my mouse.
So you get now a little bit teaser. So what you see now here, we go into the deep in December with the second part. But little teaser, why not?
So my mouse was just interrupted, but it's back now.
It's live.
So it will now load here the consumption values. And then you can later see here the total power consumption, the air consumption, the gas consumption, and the afterburner consumption as total counter. So this is our simulation system. This one runs without energy. And another question, could you do time tuning? This time tuning, I think the tuning bit on the reflex parameters.
I think this was a question regarding that.
Yes, if it's possible to do remote.
Remote control.
I don't know if you configure this remotely. You maybe have to check. Maybe send a mail to our sales department, they will figure it out.
We will clarify. So when we cannot answer some questions here, definitely we will check the complete chat and we send in then the answers via email. We have to double check and ask again. Yes.
So we're
sorry for that.
Oh, another question.
It's good.
To extract them. So there's a question which asks if you can extract the monthly gas consumption. So there is a manual way to do that. You can go to each batch protocol and select those values and sum them over the months, which is not a very good way, to be honest, because manual work. But Probot offers a cloud solution together with FabScale.
It's a joint venture between Probot and Cropster, and
Yes.
maybe we'll also do a presentation webinar later on next year. We'll see. But yes, they do. But
FabScale offers the possibility to analyze many things, but they can analyze consumption values as well. And you can select a time frame which you like, months, year, any data point in time, and you get it on a chart. You can get the values per day, whatever you like. It's a very powerful tool. So maybe check fabscale.com. I can maybe put it in the chat.
Yeah.
I will. Oh, I hit the wrong button. So.
Great.
Okay, that's the questions for now. We're a little bit over time, but we have answered the questions.
And that's live.
Yes. So I think we have a few more minutes where we will show you the recipe. Yes.
Yeah.
Because we talked about the quantity parameters so much, I will pay attention to those parameters primarily. But one thing, you have the recipe archive here, where you have an overview of all your recipes. For example, this machine has 14 recipes. You can switch between those recipes here, and it will show you preview of the roasting curve and important recipe parameters. And you can maybe add a description and a version comment. So you maybe remembered that we transferred the curves to this recipe earlier in the webinar.
Yep.
I can see that here in the version history.
Oh.
It will tell me, okay, I transferred the curves around 30 minutes ago. Maybe, and if I'm looking for some things which I changed in the recipe, for example, I go into the recipe and I will go to the General tab, and I change the reflex delay time to 56 seconds. I can enter a comment here. And this comment will not only appear here on the version history, you can also go here next to edit and say all the changes.
Great. So concrete version history automatically.
Yes.
Wow.
So you can, in default, it picks you the last 15 versions because it has to compare all recipe versions. This takes a few seconds. I can say, okay, I want to have more, maybe version 22 to version 44. And I have the possibility to look for parameters which changed. For example, I would like to know, where did the roast time change? Roast. I look for time. This is maybe a better idea. And then I see every parameter where time is involved.
So a full text search, like, for example, Google. No advertisement no for Google, but okay, that you understand it. Oh, cool. Yes. So in every search field, it's the same algorithm behind?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
It will usually do a full text search where it makes sense. So some things make more sense to only search the title, but usually it will do a full text search. And you can scroll here and see that maybe on May the 5th, the administrator changed a few parameters here.
Pretty cool.
So we have always the possibility to export the recipe in different formats. For example, PDF, Excel, or recipe files for im and export on different roasters if you would like to do that. And the recipe itself is divided into 4 areas. The general area, which, like the batch protocol, is divided in the feeding hopper, roaster, cooler, and cooler outlet bin area. And so you always know which parameter you are configuring for which area. And so you,
yeah.
so maybe you say, okay, these names are very clear, but you don't have to think twice. You know immediately I'm in the cooling area, and this will only affect my cooler discharge time.
Yeah, it's
and
concrete.
Yes, and if you click on those values to change them, you will always see the possible limits. And if you go maybe below the limits, it will say, okay, this is not allowed, I will color it in red, and you can't confirm that value.
Ah, good.
So we have it divided in different areas here. Then the classical reduction points table. We have the possibility to add more reduction steps. But maybe you say, okay, I have 7 reduction steps now. I configured them like I would like them to have. I will just enter some random values here, so you see the difference. And now I say, okay, actually, I don't need this 4th one here. You can click on the header here and remove that one. Or maybe you say, I want to add one between the 5th and the 6th one. And you can click on the header again and add an additional. So it's very easy to modify this table. And if you know the old control solutions, you always had to copy the values one row below, which is very...
And the structure was a little bit different. I guess it was from top to below, now it's from left to right.
Yes,
no?
This one is different as well.
Yeah.
I hope you like it more. We decided to do it from left to right because time on charts usually travel from left to right, not from...
The profile as well.
Yes, the profile as well. It makes kind of sense.
Yeah, okay.
So here you can configure the curves, the set point curves, and depending on the roaster type and the reflex package, which is available to your roaster and which you bought, you have the possibility to modify the set point curve here. You can add points here. You can take that point, change it in the on the thing here and say, okay, I want to have it like that. Okay, of course, the burner cannot actually do that, but it will try to reach 250 degrees as fast as possible. So yes, I will just delete that. And yeah, that's the possibility to change the set point curve.
So it's a curve designer.
Yes.
Something like that. Okay.
So I will just discard my changes so it looks nice again. And now the quality control. You maybe noticed during the webinar that there were red and yellow and green dots
on the profile at the beginning.
On the profile, yes. I will go to the batch protocol very fast to show them to you. Those are 3 dots. And they come from the recipe. And basically in the recipe, we configure that this control point, we just called it control point red because we would like it to have it red. So you can see it's actually out of the configured area.
Out of specs.
Out of spec, yeah. So we can configure here the temperature 145 45 degrees should be reached in those time frames. The inner limit is 115 and 120 seconds. And it will then get colored in green. And if it's between 110 and 115 or between 120 and 125, it will get colored in yellow, and otherwise it will get colored in red.
Cool.
So you have the possibility to have very
traffic light system.
Very strict quality parameters on your roasting batch, and you get immediately notified if maybe something's out of the ordinary. And yeah, you have the possibility to add 5 of those control points.
Okay.
This one have currently 4. And maybe I can say I don't want to have this one called test anymore. I can just delete it in the recipe. Yes. Then you noticed on the screen here, and as always, it reminds me, hey, you didn't save.
Yep, that's good.
You see the band around the curve here. It's in colored in gray. So you maybe have to look closely on your monitors to notice it right now, depending on how far away you sit. And yes, this one can be configured here on the curve deviations, and we have one by default, which says, okay, the inner limit is -2 and +2 degrees in Celsius. If it's within that range, it's colored in green. If it's without that, but not without of the outer low limit, it will get colored in yellow. And otherwise, if the deviation is higher than 10 degrees, it will colored in red. I will just quickly add another deviation. So in this example, I would say until 190 degrees. I will just have it on default. It should have those limits, 2 and -5, 2 and 5 as limits. And I will go to the curve, and you see until it reached 190 degrees around here. It has the lower band because -5 is not as big as minus or plus 10. And if I go over 190 degrees, it will have the other control band here.
Yeah.
So I will check for questions again.
Yeah, and we have to take a look definitely on the time now.
Oh, yes, one again. Oh, it's unfortunately in Spanish, I think.
Oh.
Do you...
No, Spanish is not my cup of tea since I don't learn it. A little bit French, maybe English, but Spanish, we will answer that later on, of course.
We will let it translate and check what it means.
Or you can program now a translator directly when you want to.
Yes.
Okay, we will answer, we see the question translated then, and you will get the answer from us later on, yeah. So.
Yes, one thing I forget to show, but I would like to highlight.
Last but not least.
Yeah, last but not least, for the operators which are sitting in a control room with many machines and say, okay, I don't care about the roaster, the other roaster,
all the other Probot equipment
machines. The Proforters or grinders. Those operator only cares about this machine. You can click on this button where the name is standing on, in this case, administrator. And you can say, okay, change secondary tab. You can say, I would like to uncheck all. So you say, okay, I don't care about those. You can save it. And now you don't see the other machines anymore.
Okay.
So if you're one of those operator only responsible for one machine.
So multi-machine usability, more or less.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, great.
But I care for all machines. We'll turn them on here, and you will see. So CNT has the possibility to switch between them and maybe check what's going on. So
okay,
I will check one last time for questions. No new questions. I hope you like it.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Daniel. Thank you very much you for the participation. I'm sorry. So we will double check, as I mentioned already, this is the last questions and answered it afterwards. And then I would say again, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed it, what Daniel already also said. And yeah, we will see us again, you all participant in December when we make a second part of this webinar for the Pilot 2020. And the focus then will be more regarding the machine management, alarm management. Yes. So far for today. Have a good day. Take care, stay safe, and yeah, bye.
Bye.